This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 599. So close, with Marv Bee, recorded on February 8th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.TV studios. And here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska, it's fall spring here. Like, we had 55, Marv, we had 55 today. We think that's pretty warm. But when I was talking to you about it, you're like, we're struggling at 55. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, we don't want to get out of bed in the morning. It's 52. You got to find a jacket to get to work.
Got a down jacket on and your hood up and a beanie cap on. Yeah, well, 55 today. We'll be dipping a little bit, but I always tell folks here in Nebraska, it's false spring. Like, it's just trying to lure you into a false sense of security. We'll get another couple, we'll get another snow or 2 snow days in out of this before all is said and done. Of course, we'll also post the show with some world-class show notes. There'll be a few out there at theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks to Christian Johnson, who joined me 2 weeks ago. For those of you who are wondering what happened to last week's episode, I had a new granddaughter on Thursday night, and so the mom and the baby are well, and we just canceled the show. We moved Gavin down to 2 weeks, so he'll be joining us. But big thanks to Christian, who joined us 2 weeks ago. And big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well for you guys helping keep the lights on. Whether you give 1 month or as long as you want, you can join the team out at theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Marv Bee is with us. And Marv, it's always great to have you. Welcome back to Home Gadget Geeks.
Well, thanks for having me. I was hoping that I would have some stuff to chat with you about.
Oh, you always have stuff to chat with me about.
But I'm not the Home Gadget geek that everybody else is.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter. We've got some stuff to talk about. Catch us up. You are part of the IT business podcast. You're not the part. You run the thing, the IT business podcast, itbusinesspodcast.com. What's going on? What are you guys doing over there?
So we've actually had a good start to the year. One of the things that we did is the first full week of January, I actually did a host-sponsored webinar series. I think I mentioned on your show a couple of times, our primary sponsor, presenting sponsor, is NetAlly. They do the handheld networking tools that we've talked about, that you can go out and analyze your network. We can do Wi-Fi surveys and all that sort of stuff. So we did 3 days with them. I had another IT provider that had started using the tool for 1 day. I had a trainer on, somebody that actually trains people how to use these tools, along with the Fluke tools to do some super certified network testing. And then the third day, we had NetAlly on themselves. They were just giving us updates on their product. I got a new one where they did some updates, and we can do snapshots so that if I go into an office 1 week, run an analysis, throw it up to the Link Live cloud, go back the following week, run another analysis, I can actually see what had changed on the network between the weeks and compare. Nice. So that was a good feature that they had there. And then one of them, the sponsor then gave away their new AirCheck tool, which is a handheld Wi-Fi testing. It is only certified up to Wi-Fi 6. They had not ratified Wi-Fi 7 yet, but you can do all of the testing, air quality checks, and you can do Wi-Fi surveys using that handheld tester. So that was given away to a lucky listener.
Wow. Now, I haven't heard Wi-Fi 7. Is that available commercially? Can you get
it is just coming out now. Very few products have it, but it will probably roll out later this year. I've been listening to the Ruckus podcast, and they've been talking about it. And in fact, they've already talked about Wi-Fi 8 and 9.
Wow.
So they're trying to figure out, okay, are we just going to skip over something? How Windows 95 went to 98.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, shoot, I think most people are still thinking about 6 or 6E, right? And
I would say no. I mean, I'm
oh,
still
okay.
rolling out. I'm still rolling out 5
Okay. Yeah.
because most people aren't taking the advantage of 6. I mean, 6, to be honest with you, it might be better quality, but you don't have the range of Wi-Fi
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. Right. It's a little bit like going from LTE to 5G, though, right? In the sense that you get a better signal, it just doesn't go as far.
Right.
Is
Yep.
that a fair
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
way to
Yeah.
say it? Yeah. Yeah.
And the way that most people use Wi-Fi, it's not that they don't need 6, but most people are just surfing the web, checking mail, making calls.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but 6 in a cluster, right? Where you're getting your access points a little bit closer,
Right.
to the user, right? Maybe there's a backhaul for some of the lines or whatever, just to kind of keep the speed up. That does make for it does make the video is the big difference, right, on all those, right?
Yeah.
It isn't Wi-Fi. Video and Wi-Fi they have not been very kind to each other
Right.
in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. If you're streaming on Wi-Fi, or I've got one client where they're literally trying to run their office over Wi-Fi with laptops, and I'm like, guys, you've got a database. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So Wi-Fi 6 and 7 will make that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But not much. So that was the way we started off the year. I've had some good guests, gone outside the tech space and started bringing in some people I interviewed what's the best way to describe her? That's how bad it is. My day is
It's okay.
It's so bad.
Thursday. It's Thursday night. It's all good.
Yeah. She's an executive coach. Executive leadership coach, and we talked about understanding the 4 styles of communication and how to use them to resolve conflict in the workplace, and how to communicate. And we did it from the perspective of an owner to an employee, business to customer, business to vendors. So we talked about that sort of stuff. I had a lady on a couple of weeks ago who runs a company called Superfans. And we talked about building up your brand. So it's been an interesting year already.
Yeah, some good stuff. I threw the link to it, itbusinesspodcast.com, if you want to check it out, add another podcast. Grab one of those and have a listen, and it'll be available out there for you. Super fans, not fans only, super fans.
Yeah,
right?
Super, much different.
Brian I can't believe I said that. Brian is saying same here, 5. And many of my older devices, I believe, don't support higher. And that's very true. So, and take advantage of the higher speed anyways. The PC I built has Wi-Fi 6E. I got the fastest I could because I knew I was going to attach VR to it. And I wasn't worried about it going to the router. So I was like, it itself, the reason I bought it was so I'd get the maximum, and the headset's right here and the PC's right there. So it's not going that far, right, to connect to it. But I too, Jay's asking a good question. When should we consider upgrading?
I'll be honest with you. I would not do anything major for about a year or so. It's weird. So, Wi-Fi 6 came out kind of around COVID time. And then all of a sudden we had a chip shortage. So we couldn't get Wi-Fi 6 access points for the longest time. Now they're out there, and they're kind of a mixed bag. Like I said, with 7, even though it's out there, most devices can't support it. I mean, you're not going to put your iPhone on it, and most business networks aren't going to support it yet. So I would probably wait about a year or so. Prices will start to adjust. So it'll happen. I mean, listen, you can get Ruckus, the highest quality business class access point for a couple $100. So it'll all happen soon. So I would say Wi-Fi 7 later this year is probably a good time to start looking at it.
If your router went out the average guy listening to this show has probably got one wireless or maybe, one or two access points with in a cluster or something like that. And say I've been running 4 or maybe 5 and I need to buy something new. Do you replace it with 5 now because knowing like, well, I'm gonna get something new, it's gonna work with everything, I know it's gonna work? Do you go 6 just because the availability is there? They're out there.
I would go 6. I would go 6. 6 is technically mainstream and out there. The prices have dropped. Yeah. I just probably wouldn't go 7.
Okay. Would you go consumer, or would you, knowing what you know, would you go consumer, or would you put a a business solution in a house?
So I have Ruckus at my house.
Oh, there you go. What do you think can the normal consumer do that, or are you doing it because you have access to the being able to buy it through licensing stuff, or how that works?
So to be honest, consumers can do it now. Ruckus is on Amazon, and you can get the one generation back. So like the Ruckus 710, 720 series are probably the Cadillac of the Ruckus brand when it came to that. You can get those for $300 on Amazon. Now they're going to be used, but a used Ruckus is probably better than a new Netgear Linksys. I don't even know what's in Best Buy stores now.
Yeah.
I have battled through all of the Wi-Fi stuff that I can, even the business class like Ingenious and Aruba. I just don't find them as battle tested as Ruckus.
Good to know. Those devices, the really cheap consumer grade ones are using the very cheapest chips.
Right.
And back in the day, you had maybe 2 or 3 Wi-Fi devices in your house hitting those things. And so they got to process what you're pushing through. And of course that processing takes heat, and they weren't necessarily designed to take on the heat. Right. And as we added more and more and more, I kept wondering why I'd have a wireless router and it just quit working because I was burning out the chips.
Yeah.
Right. They just getting hot. They didn't have good cooling. They didn't build them for that, kind of thing, especially some of those older ones. So I think, as we think about the new ones, and I think they're now anticipating, they're getting more robust chips. I was looking at a Wi-Fi 6 access point that was consumer grade, gotten really good reviews, and it was like $400. And you're like, well, gosh, but then you saw the insides of it, and you're like, oh, okay, they actually built this with some pretty good quality components, so that you're not burning that thing out. TP-Link would probably fall. Tony was like, TP-Link? Yeah, that would fall in the same class, that same consumer class. A couple questions coming in. TJ says, he was on the show a couple weeks back, no point in Wi-Fi 7 yet. Wi-Fi 6 is hardly in any devices as it is. And I think, Marv, that's what you're saying. You got to think about the wife acceptance factor. Tony said, my wife threatened me if I try to mess with our Eero system. And that is one of those things, right? Marv, I don't know about you, but I kind of want to put it in place, and I don't want to touch it for a couple years.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I just had a customer that we removed the, it wasn't the Eero, but it was the Netgear version of the mesh, the Orbi.
Yep.
Orbi, which Orbi's actually a good system, and it works. I put it in the same, I saw a mention in the chat about the prosumer Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti I would put in between the consumer and the enterprise, that prosumer. I would put Orbi in that same thing, but this was a company that had over 100 devices trying to hammer a mesh network, and they were pushing data through for work, and they were frustrated. I'm like, well, you can't do that. If it was just for basic stuff, no big deal.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to really push stuff through, you need to upgrade, and we replace that with Ruckus.
Yeah. TJ also says Ubiquity, you mentioned this, for prosumer is always a good option, really affordable. Ruckus is really amazing. Yeah. And then he comes and says Omada is actually good at half the price of Ubiquity somehow. And yeah, TJ says the worst is Linksys. Yeah, well, in its price, you get what you pay for. I early on in this, we were buying Wi-Fi routers for $79, and he's kind of think about it. You're like, okay, that chip in there, no active cooling, maybe no cooling at all on that thing, and start pushing it, and it's done, right? So, well, it's a good review. I am using a pretty old Bitdefender box router that is, it serves everything. It's it's got Wi-Fi. It actually does all the DNS assignments here. And I've had it for a couple years. They replaced it once for me. I think I may be on year 3 or 4 of it. And it's got 5G. It's 2 and 5. And but I know at some point I'm going to need to replace it. And when I bought this box, I'm like, well, I got 6 on a PC. Maybe it's time to be proactive and replace it before it goes out. But that thing may just keep going on. I don't know. If it's gone this long, it's probably just going to go for a while until the software's not supported anymore, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Do you find in the pro grade stuff that you put in, do you find if it doesn't fail, it's like one of those things, if it's going to fail, it's going to fail pretty quick. And if it doesn't, it stays around for a while. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's one of those kinds of, it's like a hard drive in some regards. Like, if it survives the first month, and not always, but chances are it'll go on for a while. Well, it's got me thinking on the Wi-Fi side again. I'm always trying to push Wi-Fi out to the shed. I've got this shed on the back of my property.
Right.
And so I've done all these things to try and get access points. And for now, I just turn on the hotspot on my phone, and that works.
Well, how far is it again?
50, 60 feet, maybe 70 feet.
So just get a directional external.
Yeah. I could just run a line too. Like, you
don't want to run a line out there or dig up your grass or whatever.
I'd run it overhead. There's actually the old cable line, all the stuff for that is there, and then the shed sits next to the pole. So I could literally come out of the house, run across that same infrastructure and drop it down and just go overhead, and you can buy, I didn't realize this. You can buy outdoor rated, pretty good stuff, Cat 6 or whatever, pretty cheap right now.
Yeah.
Like I was like, for what I needed, $50 maybe less, and you're like, oh, well, okay. And then I was like, yeah, but I can just turn my phone on too and make a hotspot. I'm not out there all the time. I'm out there.
But it's nice. I mean, how far is that from your fire pit? I mean, that's the thing. You want to be able to have Wi-Fi throughout the whole yard, right?
Yeah.
Just always on.
We never struggle with it at the fire pit, but the shed, being inside the shed, you have another layer of wood and insulation,
right,
blocking it, unfortunately. Every time I talk about this with Ed, this is usually because this is on Sundays, I enjoy a cigar with Ed in the shed, and I talk about it, and he's like, dude, you're out here one time a week, like, just let it go. You're fine, just use your phone. I'm like, yeah. But I want better speeds. I want more speed out here. I don't need it. I don't need it. Anyways, it's a problem. I'm trying to solve for a problem I don't have. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
You asked a interesting question of me at one point pre-show. We were talking, and the question was this, and I'll pose it to you: do you think we're getting a little too gadgety in our lives? I mean, to the sentence I just said, are we trying to solve problems that don't exist? And do we just have too many things that can go wrong that we don't need. I mean, I've got lights blinking out on my porch right now that are blinking red and white because it's Valentine's Day coming up, right? And it has an app, and I can go and change the light colors, and I'm going to keep it up all year round so I can do different holidays. And it's got a red, white, and blue setting for 4th of July, whatever.
Right.
Do you think we're getting too gadgety?
You know my answer.
Of course. It's a setup. It's a trap.
I think we are, but I do believe there are certain cases where it's cool to have gadgets in the right place at the right time. And that lighting thing that you just mentioned, that's actually pretty cool. Just put up lights once.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about taking them up and putting them down, each year.
Staple them in, leave them. And I figure, I don't know, I could run them 6 or 7 times a year based on holidays. It's got a teal and green setting that I could use for Easter. Right. And just have them on all year long. But I don't know. You had something happen though at your place.
So I've had 2 things happen in 2 days that I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And I'll start with yesterday first because it's a story. You guys have been talking about these automatic yard sprinklers, over the last year. And I'm not so far as to be the person that would get that sprinkler that maps out the yard and waters just where the grass is.
Yeah.
Cool thing, but a little too much for me.
Right.
But what I did do was I got a new automated sprinkler system that you can control with an app. So I can set the schedule, I can turn it on and off without having to go out to the physical sprinkler and do that, which it's been fine. It's even got a setting that adjusts the water based on the season. There was an optional component where we can stick it in the ground and actually measure moisture, but I didn't want to get that. So this has been fine for us until yesterday when our driveway was being painted because the wife wanted it painted. And the guy was there painting and the sprinklers came on. And of course, our sprinklers, they go into the driveway. No. And so she was texting me at the office saying, can you please turn the sprinklers off? Well, I was busy. I was either on a remote session or something. So I didn't see the message. And I mean, there must have been 15 text messages.
I need it now, now.
Finally, they were actually able to figure out, first of all, she couldn't get the sprinkler thing open to see it, but they finally got it open and there is an on-off button in there. But it was just that whole idea of, she's like, he's got an app on his phone and I can't do anything.
You need a master kill switch somewhere in the house or something, right? To say, okay, in an emergency, if you have to shut this off, right.
So that was the first thing that happened, which not really a big deal.
Yeah.
But what really got my goat.
Maybe.
So today we got a new coffee maker. And we've been big Keurig fans over the years. And I don't know if you want to put this in the chat or show it.
Do you have a link for it?
Yep. I'm putting
put it in our private. Yeah.
Just did that.
Yep.
So I got this today and it was the Keurig K Supreme Smart Coffee Maker. And the one we had was dying and I'm like, yeah, let's get one. And when I was looking at this, the thing that got my attention was it has multi-stream technology, which is basically just more holes to drip through the cup. but it has a thing called Brew ID. Stop laughing at me. So I'm looking at this Brew ID thinking, okay, that might be pretty cool because Brew ID recognizes your K cup and customizes the brew settings for that cup. So I like different types of coffee. We switch around and my wife does the cafe latte. So I thought, well, that'd be cool if we could go in and have it recognize the cup so that she doesn't have to fuss and do all that stuff. So great. So I got it, turned it on. I'm trying to go through the settings And of course it says, you know, do you want to connect to the app? I'm like, no. And it says, well, and then I went to click the brew ID thing. It says, oh, well, you must connect to the app. So first connect to Wi-Fi. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just want a cup of coffee. I don't want to have to connect my coffee maker to the Wi-Fi to use an app to tell it to make me a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, you do if you want all those magic features.
Like, that's just ridiculous. And of course, you know, you can turn it on and off from the app. You can do a rinse cycle through the app. I mean,
the ad says connected convenience.
Yes.
Brew from anywhere. And that's not really true, right? It's not like it's got an auto loader in right. So yes. I mean, if you come and put the cup in and then walk away from it, but when you just push the button, when you put and maybe it's for people who want to wake up in the morning, it's preloaded, right? Because you could put the cup in at night
before you go to bed,
and then start the cup. Listen, if you're having to start the cup of coffee from bed, maybe you're running your schedule a little too tight, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean it's got a schedule. You can schedule it to turn on and brew that cup ready. It's nice stuff. I didn't buy it for that.
Yeah.
But now I've got it and I'm like, do I really want to go through this much hassle just for a cup of coffee?
Well, now the brew ID concept, and Nespresso kind of does this too. The actual cup on an espresso pod, it's got a barcode on and I don't know, do K-Cups have this? There's a barcode on around it where it can detect what kind of cup, what kind of coffee it is when you put it in. Does Keurig do that?
So I don't know because I haven't gotten any new actual cups.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out how it determines what the pod is.
Yeah.
So maybe the new pods, it has that in there. But there was a barcode on the back of the coffee maker that I had to scan in order to get the app to connect it to the Wi-Fi.
It's going to be great, Marv. It's going to be great. At the end of the day, you're going to figure all this stuff out. Well, it does come with so showing it on screen right now, ultimate customization, which with a K-Cup, I didn't realize this was a thing, but maybe it is. So 5 strengths, 6 temperatures, 4 cup sizes. And even you can brew over ice setting.
Yeah.
So that is kind of, I mean, now 6 temperatures. That's
think about it. I think my previous one, I think there were 3 temperatures. So you could have it, just hot enough to not, just be warm, the regular. And then of course, if you want super hot, so I did, the max hot is hot.
Right.
I mean, it's hot.
It's probably too hot.
Yeah. And then they've got the brew strengths, which, they've got, I think the brew strengths now there's 5 of those because you can go mild, rich, medium, bold. I mean, it's pretty robust. So if you're a coffee snob, we'll have to ask Erin about this and see if
yes. I need to get her. Need to get her scheduled, but yeah. So it must know what the cup is. So there must be a setting and somehow it's saying, hey, this is the cup. Or does it ask you for an ID? Are you putting an ID in when you're putting the cup in?
So no.
Okay.
So I think that there's something else that I haven't gotten to yet. Yeah. So I just figured out today after I got it set up and all of that stuff. One of the things that you can do is you can save settings. So for instance, I did a setting for me, I did a setting for Kim, and you can have additional settings. So if you have a setting for your iced coffee, I mean, I don't know how many settings you can put in there, but you can just basically go up, hit your setting and have it remembered what to do for your particular thing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they have it now to where if you get on the auto ship program with them, when you use the pods, it will keep track of your pods and alert you when it's time to order more.
Of course, it'll the A lady for the Amazon stuff says we're noticing you should be running low on things. Do you want us to order that for you right now? and I imagine the Nespresso very similar in some ways. Of course, I have a lower. I mean, my machine's probably 7 years old now, which is crazy to think. It's just one button on the top, no connected. I know they have some Wi-Fi connected things in Nespresso as well that you can do all those things with. I think for Christmas last year, not this Christmas, but last Christmas, Kevin Schoonover sent me an Ember. His company was giving those away. That's a $200 coffee mug. Like, let's just be really clear about these Embers, right? And you can, you connect it to your phone and you can set the temperature you want it to keep it at. You can actually put water in it and bring the temperature up for tea and some of those kinds of things. So I've been using it more because we got new Nespresso machines at work that we're doing coffee with now. Now they have a different kind of pod. They're round, they're maybe like a silver dollar size.
Right.
And then they have the grounds in it, and you just drop it in the top, and then you've got a wheel of settings, and you can make like Americano. They have an Americano Plus. They have an Espresso. They've got two others, ones I can't pronounce because they're Italian. Apparently, why can't we put these things in, in English? But okay, Italian sounds better, so we'll do it. Or they could be made up Italian words for all that I know. But you drop that thing in and then push the button, and it goes to town for you. Makes you a pretty good cup of coffee. I just have it. It's the right size for the Ember, and I just have it put in there, and I put it on my desk, and it keeps the coffee at its default is 135. I like 140. I never thought I would know temperatures on my coffee. Marv, do you have a temperature?
No, I have no idea what the temperature is. I'll probably find out now with the smart Keurig.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was like, 135. So I got in the app, dialed it up to 140. You could see it kind of clicking up. I got a notification on my watch when it hit 140, which is just crazy. It's like, it's coffee. And then I tasted it. Yeah, it was definitely hotter. You're like, okay, this stuff works pretty good. 140 seems to be what I like, to dial that stuff in. A couple comments coming in from the chat room. Joe says, hopefully it won't report to my doctor that I drink 2 cups a day. Listen, my coffee intake, my doctor would be frightened if he knew how much coffee I drank, especially now that we have these fancy coffee makers at work. Like, I'm drinking at 2 p.m, and I'm wondering why I'm waking up at 1 a.m. and can't go back to sleep. Well, I get 8,000 milligrams of caffeine in my body. Brian says, when my Keurig breaks, I may need to, replace it with that. Do you think, Marv, now that you know that, would you have gotten that same coffee maker again? Or would you have gone with the slower speed one?
So apparently what Keurig has done is they made the non-smart version and the smart version that are very similar. So I could have gotten it without, all the brew ID and stuff like that. Right. And they're literally the same in terms of the buttons on the top.
Price
and
different.
The problem was it wasn't that much difference.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not going to get less for the same price. Yeah. Right. And they're laughing the whole way to the bank because, like, we're going to sucker them in with the subscription program where we're just going to send the cups out to him if he's drinking too much coffee. They just keep showing up. I got checks. I must have money in the bank. I got coffee. I better drink it.
Yeah. The regular K Supreme right now is 130.
Okay.
And the one that I ordered was 155.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, And
what Joe says, hopefully it won't go the way of the Dynamo in the future and only work with their pods. There is a generic pod, right? Keurig makes, there's other companies that make Keurig for Nespresso. They're the only ones that's not true.
Right. No, I think Nespresso is going the way of Keurig. So Keurig made itself, if you want to make pods, great. Just make them like this, and everybody's got them. And then, of course, they have the containers where you can put in your own coffee.
Yep.
So they've made it an open system. I think they'll stay with that.
Probably so. One of the things you said, though, is that you had to connect this thing to the internet, and there has been some discussion in the Discord group. If you haven't joined us out there, Bust Out, one of the guys in the Discord group, posted this article earlier this week that says 3 million smart toothbrushes. Aaron is going to answer for this for sure when she's on. 3 million smart toothbrushes cause millions of damage due to a DDoS attack, right? Unfettered electric toothbrushes that got connected to the internet had malware on them. So it says, while computers and smartphones are supplied with security patches almost every week, such updates for smart gadgets such as scales, washing machines, or toothbrushes remain the exception rather than the rule. Would you expect an update to your, did it check? Is there any way to check to see if there was an update for this Keurig?
Oh, it already did it. Yeah.
Oh,
it did. I went home and came back and to make my tea, and it said, "Yep, your Keurig has been updated." But I'm like, wait a minute, on its own.
Yeah. TJ's telling me the article's fake. So it's very possible this is fake news that is out there.
So I was going to say, I've seen a couple of others where it said it was more likely a simulation than an actual DDoS attack.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does, I mean, it does bring to light, you know, to go back to the original question about getting really gadgety and all of these things. I mean, you said it wouldn't let you do very much until you connected. Like, you can't enable any of the features. You can't do anything until you got it connected to the Wi-Fi. So the app could connect to the Wi-Fi and then you could connect to it. Right. Can you control that thing off your network? Is it, do you have, did you create an account, a Keurig account, so that from work you can get your thing at home?
Yeah, you had to do, you had to create an account.
Yeah.
To do all that. So I can go home. Actually, I was showing the wife. I'm like, yeah, I can turn it on from here. And and it shows when it's connected and all the stuff. And that was one of the fears I had years ago when we were talking about bringing technology into our homes and having our refrigerators on the Wi-Fi, having our cars, you know, tell us when our tire pressure is low through the app. That there is so much happening. And now if you have to create an account for everything, there's just one more point where they can gather information on you and resell it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I keep thinking about the practicality of being able to, so after you brew coffee, do you pop a new pod in there so it's ready to go for the next time? So in case and do you put a new cup in there so that if you're remote and you're driving home and you think, you know, it'd be really great is if I had a cup of coffee ready for me when I came in the house, right? Do you set, I shouldn't say do you, you just got this. Do you think you'd use it that way?
So this one's actually here at the office.
Okay.
So I did think maybe I would try it and see if it was a good thing. Whereas before I left the house, let me hit, you know, set a schedule and brew it so that it would be ready for me. My only concern is that maybe I don't come in at that time and it sits there and gets cold.
Well, you can invoke it. You could say at some point when you get right? Could you invoke it on the commute to say, start brewing now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can manually do that. So that would be an option. Yeah. I'm on my way, start brewing and have it ready.
Got a cup of coffee ready for you when you get there. What's the biggest cup size it makes?
12.
Like how much?
12 ounces.
12 ounces?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can't.
So it's 6, 8, 10, and 12.
Okay. Yeah. And it probably takes 5 minutes to brew 12 ounces. So you're saving yourself.
So yeah, it's actually pretty quick, but yeah, 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah. It's just, I'm just saying that because I think sometimes I'm thinking through this, like, I mean, listen, in the winter here in Nebraska, it's nice to have a remote start on your car. Right?
Yes.
It's nice 5 minutes ahead of time, get that thing going, get the windows defrosted or whatever. Having a coffee ready for you, I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing to have, a Wi-Fi connected. Because here's what I would do. And when I used to order from Starbucks all the time, there was a stoplight on my way into work that I knew that if I at that stoplight ordered my Starbucks, they would be putting it out just as I walked in the store, or close, right?
Okay.
Something close. Because I'm crazy that way. I figure I test all these things out and try it. I want to try and time it perfectly. So that's what I would do with this Keurig is I'd load it and have it ready to go. And then at some point in the commute, I would bring up the app and hit the button, except I'd be bouncing around in the car and I'd hit the wrong button. And then I'd be like, oh, darn it. And then my phone would fall off the dash.
Yeah. But you know what the problem with me here is? Even though that coffee maker is here at my office.
Yeah.
I live a block from home. So how lazy would I be if I'm like, honey, I got to start the coffee maker before I head over to the office?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough that I get in the car and drive to work every day.
That's true. What would a walk? It's 5-minute drive, so that makes it a 20-minute walk.
It's not even a 1-minute drive. It's literally the next block.
Okay, I got you. You could just so it's a 1-minute drive, 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you could walk over. You could start the coffee as you're leaving the front door, walk over to the office, and it would be ready for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I loved it. I'd love for it to have a loader, right? That would make more sense.
If it had the loader. Now, what I'm thinking is there's got to be a version at some point, because one of the things that I really like is to grind my own beans. So I would love to have a bean loader that I could schedule, and it would grab the beans, pull them in, grind them, brew them. Then that would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. And they have, I mean, we just got at work, we got a new one of those kinds of machines where it's got 2 hoppers on the top and you can choose between the 2 different kinds of beans. And, and this morning there were like 15 people lined up to use that thing. And I'm like, guys, it's just coffee. It's just coffee. I know it's magic coffee, but it's just coffee. So oh, the technology that goes into just getting a cup of the crazy thing is we're getting all these new these gadgety coffee makers, and they're pretty cool, but they had just replaced the regular drip ones with a brand new head device on them that was brewing really good drip coffee. And you walk up to it and you pull the handle and coffee comes out and it fills up your cup and then you walk away. No grinding, right. And it was pretty good coffee. It was actually pretty good. And then we replaced all the hubs now have Nespresso pods in them, which is pretty cool. And some pretty good stuff. So it's been one of those things we're using to bring people back. Hey, come back into the office. We have really great coffee. See how it works. We'll see how it works. People are excited about it. They're like, because it's important. When the coffee's bad, I
was going to say, if there are people that go to Starbucks and it saves them $6, $7, $8 a day.
Oh, for sure.
To get the coffee at work.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just the right size. It brews 8. I think the Nespresso ones brew like 8 ounces. And I think the cup I have is 10. So it's the perfect size. Take the Ember cup over, brew it, set it on my desk. I can walk away. It'll stay the same temperature, whatever. It's a pretty good system now. So it's so good. I usually brew coffee on my drive in this morning I forgot, and I'm like, that's all right, I'll just get coffee when I get to work. So it stopped me from swinging by a Starbucks or something. But you're right, $6 or $7.
Yeah.
Starbucks. You're killing us. Well, we'll have to follow up. I'll ping Erin on this. We'll see what she thinks when we get her back on. Keurig, did you go Keurig just because that's what you're used to? Did you consider Nespresso in the?
No, we are Keurig at the office and the home.
Okay.
So much so that I've got 2 sides to the office, and we've got where my studio is actually an open area that, when we have people over, it's more than a conference room. We can sit and hang out. I've got the TV up. We can host little lunches and stuff here. So we've got a kitchen area, and we have the Keurig Duo on this side where it can do a regular cup or it can do a carafe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
that's a nice. Yeah. Do those take special pots for the
no,
for the
same pods?
No, same pods.
Yep. And then for the carafe, you would just put in your regular, Folgers, packets or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And it takes that stuff.
Okay.
So you wouldn't use the pod for a carafe.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. What an industry just to get caffeine in the mornings, dirty water into our systems. Well, Joe says out in chat, he says my washer notifies me in the app, on the app. And this would maybe be handy on a watch too. When it's done, other than that, and telling me when the jet dry is empty, which is it's helpful.
That's probably the big thing when the jet dry is empty.
Yeah, that's helpful. I haven't figured out what it's good for. So that's not a bad, some of those kinds of notifications can be helpful. Tony says, my LG fridge ice maker failed after just 18 months. It has a smart app function, but doesn't seem to work with their app. This is the thing that worries me about a smart fridge or a smart oven. Some of those big, or a dishwasher, some of those big appliances, we only replace them 10, 15 years, right? I mean, they generally give us a pretty good, and then, I mean, think of all the things that change in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
In that app, that app's not going to stay working for that long. Then what do you do?
Right.
So maybe we are getting a little too gadgety. Just saying.
That could be.
Okay. Speaking of gadgets, you showed me a few gadgets. I'm most interested in, because we talk about this. We've talked about this on Ask the Podcast Coach when I spend time with Dave Jackson on Saturday mornings. But you have a StreamDeck there on your desk, right?
Yes.
Are you using it? I mean, what'd you get it for? Why do you have it?
So I got
hopefully
it.
Not because we talked about it on Ask the Podcast.
Actually, it's funny. So I've known about these things for, I don't know, 2 years. And I've heard you guys talk about it. I've thought about getting it. And I'm like, Yeah. So finally, one of my listeners was at a church and he took a picture from church showing me that they were using it to do their broadcast streaming. And he's like, dude, you got to get this for your show. And so I'm like, all right. So I got it. I got it 2 weeks ago, but I unboxed it. I plugged it in, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to use it yet.
Yeah, I'm showing it on screen. They're really cool devices, and they've got, they have the ability to run, they interface with a lot of things in the software. I mean, if you kind of think of them like an if this then that with buttons,
right?
So you can be like, hey, open this app, or open this, open this Excel spreadsheet, or dim these lights, or like in what we're thinking, go to this scene in StreamYard. I think those things work with StreamYard. The thing, Marv, that I really like about them, I'll bring the picture up a little bit bigger. The thing that always makes me like these is those little tiny pictures that are on the buttons. I am just intrigued. You showed yours, when it's off, they're just black. Some people think they were stickers that were on there. No. These are little tiny screens.
Yeah, and you program the screens to whichever app you want. You pick the picture you want. And so I've been trying to figure out, okay, right now I've only got 2 things that I could think of using it for. So I figure I need to get at least 5. So once I get the 5, then I'll set it up and go. And I hadn't quite figured out how to use it with StreamYard yet, which is what I use for my live show as well. So I'm going to do that. And then I want to be able to, the way that I've seen most people use it is to open up apps on their computer that they're, screen sharing, or it can set out little tweets and posts. Hey, we're live now. Come join us. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I want to do more. So I need to figure out a few things.
Can you do multi-page on those? Is one of those like next page?
Yes.
So you can, there's 15, right? 5.
Yeah, I think you can do 4 pages on this one.
Volume, the one I'm looking at here on screen, volume might be a handy, if you're turning your like if you've got speakers, are you ever playing anything out loud, watching YouTube videos, or do you always have headphones on when you're doing that?
I always have the headphones on.
Well, even if you do, you could put volume control as those two buttons and make it a little bit easier to raise or lower the volume, right? That would work. Microphone mute would be a good one to have. So there's 3 right there, right?
But I have that on my Rodecaster because I use the Rodecaster. So that's part of the thing. I think there's so many overlaps.
Yeah, because it's got buttons. The Rodecaster has buttons to do this kind of automation too, right?
Yeah. So I'm looking at doing a couple of those things with the apps that I share. So if I'm doing a demo or something, then maybe I figured that's what they're going to be used for, and maybe for some sounds. So I know my Rodecaster has sound pads, but I could do additional sounds on the StreamDeck for that. So that was something I was thinking of. And then, of course, I'm getting cameras, but I don't know if the cameras will work with this or not.
What kind of cameras are you getting?
So I'm getting a weird Logitech Mevo.
Okay.
Which is a 3-camera set. Let me give you this link here. So it supposedly allows you to do live streamcast directly from the camera. So if I'm out remote, which I do a lot of remote podcasts, I'll go out to conferences and do stuff there. And being able to do a multi-camera live stream from these cameras, I'm thinking that might be something that's good. And I can also use them as a webcam in place of what I'm using now, if necessary. They can record directly onto themselves, or you can use an app and use it with whichever platform you're using. So Zoom, StreamYard, I can use that. So that's something I'm looking at.
It's $1,000, Mark.
Yes, it is. That's why we have sponsors.
Yeah. And so when you're thinking about 3 camera, I mean, the average person needs 1 camera for Zoom, right at home, whatever. What you'd have a forward face. What are you hoping to do with the other 2?
So for the most part, it's more when I'm doing those remote sessions where I might not be able to do a camera if we're not sitting side by side with a webcam. So I can set up 2 cameras pointing, one at me, one at the guest, and go from there. We can do a 3rd camera a little further out that would show both of us. And then I can change between the camera angles. So that's one thing that I'm looking at it for. The other is I've got a association group that is celebrating its 40th year this year. And we are going to try to put together a little video documentary. So I wanted to have a camera where I could set people up. You know how you set people up and they're telling the story and, you know, they're kind of looking off to the side like a Dateline and they're telling their story. And I thought I wanted to be able to do something like that. And when I talk to other YouTubers or podcasters, they're always talking about these Sony cams and these blah, blah. And the cameras, the single cameras are $1,000. Mm-hmm. And then if you want a lens, it's another $500. And then if you, it's like, okay, when I try to figure out, okay, I can barely afford 1. But I came across this and I'm like, 3 for $1,000. It's got built-in live streaming. It can record itself. It's got built-in audio. I'm like, I'm going to try it.
1080 or are these 4K?
I think they're just 1080.
1080. Okay. 1080. Yeah. Well, it certainly brings, I mean, having 3 of the same monitors that are, and they're like webcams, although they've got a little more functionality on them when you think, because they can record for you, right?
Yes.
You don't have to have them attached, but you can use them as a webcam if you want to. Good quality, a little bit bigger of a sensor, I think just a smidge bigger than you'd get out of a regular webcam. At least I hope, for that price. A pretty decent 4K webcam is $200 maybe if you were going to get one of decent quality.
Yep.
So, you'd hope this would be a little bit bigger for 300. If you're thinking 333 each, whatever, for $1,000.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you bought them, or are you just thinking about it?
Oh, they're on their way. They were supposed to be here today. They were supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
The other thing that with this Mevo platform, you can actually bring in other cameras. So it touts the fact that you can bring in these, like if you've got a PTX or NDI, or I forget whatever the things are, but you can bring other cameras into the system. So it's not a closed system.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You can use your phone, you can use tablets as camera devices. So if you wanted to go crazy and have one of these cameras, I've got a whole bunch of old iPads that we were trying to figure out what we're going to do with. I might set those up and use them as broadcasting.
Do they have dual cameras on those iPads? Is there front and back facing cameras
on the iPads? Yes.
Yeah. And which is better? Is the one facing out or the front facing one better?
I think the one facing out is better.
It's better. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially a phone. That's where, a good iPhone that you could, you might be, the example they have on Amazon is somebody doing a cooking demonstration, right? Or whatever. So you got a camera coming straight on, one then focused on the range of where things are being cooked. And then maybe one from a side view to get some B-roll or, whatever.
And that's the whole reason I was thinking of it, is if I ever wanted to do an actual demo from here, I could have a camera focused down and I could show, my networking tools, my apps and stuff. So that would be pretty cool.
What you could do is you could take one and focus it on the Keurig and then start streaming when you turn the Keurig on before you leave the house to know, right? You could call it the Keurig cam. And
there you go.
Watch as you're walking from your house to the office. You could be watching a streaming of it brewing for you. Oh, that'd be awesome. How awesome would that be?
That'd be cool.
Talk about solving problems you don't have.
I wonder if I can make that go viral.
Just, I bet if you posted that to YouTube and people would watch I could do coffee. Reel. We could do the iced coffee. We can do the coffee latte. I mean, we could do all of that. Yeah. It's called the Brew Channel. And, that make a great reel, right? I mean, ASMR, isn't that right? That of the sound of the coffee pouring into, on Ask the Podcast Coach, people, they don't do it too much anymore, but they used to always comment, Dave plays the coffee, the drinking sound. Yeah. When I pour the coffee. It was the funniest thing. One time he played that sound and I was away from the microphone because I always do the coffee pour around my microphone, and somebody went, "Wait, that's the sound of that." They thought the whole time it was the actual sound. Yeah. So there you go. So you could do you could have a coffee monitor, a brew cam. You can have your brew cam going on. Could you also you said, and we'll wrap it up with this. You had a Hero Pro 11 that didn't work out for you. Could you use, just a separate, before you talk about that, why you had to send it back? Could you use a Hero camera as a webcam or as a camera in this new Logitech setup?
Well, that's the reason I sent it back.
Okay.
Because I researched a whole bunch of stuff and I wanted the ability to have a camera on the go, but then also use it as a webcam. And there's this weird glitch with GoPros that if you put it in webcam mode, all it does is show the GoPro logo. It won't work in webcam. And it wasn't until after I got it and went to research it that, like, oh yeah, it won't work as a webcam. And I'm like, then why do you say it works as a webcam?
Yeah. Those, I haven't heard a lot of people having a lot of success with those working as webcams.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't know if it would work in this setup. I have a feeling no.
Yeah. Well, but you have 3. So, you know, you'd be when are you gonna do that? When are you gonna use them? I want to, and when are you gonna, is this gonna go on the IT Pro or podcast, or how are you gonna use them?
So I will probably, so I've got a project I've got to do this weekend. We've got to go to my nephew's birthday, and of course it's the big game.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know. I wasn't even aware that there was a Super Bowl this weekend.
Yeah, as you have the wrong color shirt on for your team.
Oh,
is that the throwback jersey?
This is the salute to service.
There you go.
Yeah, when they come from a few years ago. So
yeah,
but yeah, somebody mentioned that in chat. I have for the audio folks, I have a Kansas City Chiefs green hoodie on.
Yeah. So I will probably try to at least get it set up on Saturday. I don't know. I may not be watching you and Dave Saturday morning.
Oh, definitely. Well, it's okay if you don't. Well,
so cool. I'll probably get it set up. My hope is my live stream next Wednesday night, I would have it set up. If it has good resolution and lighting, that's my only fear is I got to have some light. Yeah. So I even have so the Logitech meetup cam that we put in conference rooms. So I brought that over here and tried to use that as a webcam, and it works. But this is the Logitech Brio.
Yep.
And it's like 5 times brighter than the Logitech Meetup. And the Meetup is this big, huge honking thing.
Be smaller. Yeah, so, but the Meetup one, does it have all the rotating
yes.
zoom, yep. Mechanical zoom? Yeah, I bet that sensor's a little bit smaller. Or
probably.
Yeah, or same size, but because of the depth of the mechanical depth of the zoom, it's not letting enough. It's not letting enough light in.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
So, so I'm hoping that these will be similar to this Logitech Brio. If they are, then I'll use it on next week's live show.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. I'll have to see how that goes for them. I have a Brio that I use here. And pretty good little camera,
yeah,
you know, little webcam. So Tony's going to be on next week. He had mentioned in chat that he and Ed both have bought that little Pocket 3, that little gimbal. Tony, what was thrown chat? What the retail on that was? I forget. And I think you can plug those in as webcams too. They've got a pretty good camera on those. I think they're $279 or $379 or something like that. So you're getting a pretty good camera and you're getting a really good picture. Those things have the stabilization on those things alone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He says just under 700 for the creator bundle. Yeah, you get a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
you get a bunch of stuff in the bundle, extra battery and some other things I think associated with it. He says he's not sure he'll keep it. We'll try it next week when you're on, Tony. We'll see how it looks. I think Ed did that for me one time as a webcam. I think he came on. It's another way to do it. You can use Ecamm Plus and use your iPhone as a webcam. That's another way of, on a Mac, I could put my iPhone up there, but I never really, that always seems like a good idea, put this in a thing and it's a really good camera, except when you're trying to do something and you need check a website, you need your phone. Crap.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I kept some of these old iPads that I thought, well, maybe I'll use those for that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Are those 1080? 720?
They're definitely 720. I think these are maybe a year. Well, not a year, but 2 generations back. So I think they might be 1080.
Okay. Well, if you're using StreamYard and you're not paying for the extra service, you're only getting 720 anyways in some cases. So are you?
I'm paying for the extra.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, cool.
That's why you have sponsors.
Not here. I mean, I try to sell HelloFresh. Nobody buys it, but that's okay. I did. I think it was TJ said, "Hey, can you send me after we talked about it. He said, "Can you send me one of those free coupons for it?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I think you get a box and a bunch of money off 2 and 3. If you guys are interested in doing that, since Marv brought it up, send me an email, Jim@theaverageguy.t. Marv, anything else? I said we put the outline together, and I said that's enough, and I think we made it through.
I think we hit just about everything.
It's good stuff. What anything coming up on your podcast, IT business podcast?
So let's see. Our next show is the 3rd installment of the Executive Leadership Coach.
Oh, that's cool.
I do have, so this last live show, we had on one of the Facebook groups. One of the things that I'm trying to do this month is a focus on Facebook community groups for techs. So all the groups that I'm a part of, I've been sending out invitations saying, hey, I'd like to feature you guys on the podcast. So the one I just had on was for the IT business owners group. And that's one of the active ones. They just did a cruise. They're going to do another one. I've got the Live Wire Nation as a group that we're trying to get on there. Tech Knowledge is a group we're trying to get on. And these are all just general IT groups. So some of them are going to be audio only. Some of them are going to be live.
Okay, cool.
And that's pretty much it. And then the month of March will be all MSP month. So we'll be talking to other IT business owners and shops and stuff.
What's that stand for?
Managed service provider.
Okay. And that's what you are. That's what you do for your.
Yeah. I mean, there's some argument as to, who is and who isn't. Basically, anything that is a technology solution provider, if you supply support to businesses, that's what we are.
Okay.
So that's it. And then I'm sure I'll have some cool stuff this summer. We're trying to do a solo tech series this summer.
Oh, well,
so fun. We're going to focus on people that are either doing it part-time or have just started and they're on their own as a solo tech trying to figure out how to navigate this business. So we are going to do, I think right now it's a 7-part series. And we're going to talk about everything from, leaving your job, getting started, how to get customers, how to market, how to do your books. We're going to have a whole series on that. So that may be something people might be interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. Check it out. itbusinesspodcast.com. And you can see what's been done and what's coming up. Joe, we'll wrap it with this. Joe says in the chat, I go on cruise to get away from IT, not do more of it. As you said that, I thought, we've been talking about doing a tech meetup forever. And I had to see if I can't do a destination. I don't want to bring people to Omaha, just to be really clear.
Really?
I should see. Yeah. I just don't want to do it here. I don't know why. I just don't want to do it here. But I had to see about doing a destination one where, I have a company set it up and I get 30 people to show
up. Come here.
To it. Yeah, there you go. Fort Lauderdale.
Come here. Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking more like the Whiskey Trail. But I mean, you got
something a little more fun.
You have plenty of whiskey down there, apparently.
I got bourbon and beach. Come on.
I know. How are the beaches? Are they pretty good?
This side of the state, they're decent.
Okay.
But if you want the clean white sand with lots of shells, that's the other coast.
That's the other side.
And it's only about an hour and 15 minutes away. So you can still do both. Come here, hang out, and then take a day trip over to Naples, Sanibel.
Jump on a bus and a bunch of tech, a bunch of really untanned tech guys coming off the bus in a white beach.
And have me drive you.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Come on, why do you
yeah, come on down. Put your sunscreen on. Well, I have to think about doing something like that. Marv, thanks. Always great to hang out with you. Thanks for coming on. And even though you always say, I don't know what we're going to talk about, and I say, well, I have plenty to talk about. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me, and happy to be back anytime you need me.
Yeah. Can you hang out for a minute while I close things up?
I sure can.
Okay. Sounds good. Just a reminder, if you want to join us in the Facebook group, no, that's not true. In the Discord group, you can send us an email. No, don't do that either. I'm not sure where I am at the moment. Head out to the averageguy.tv/discord and we'll get that there. Leave me a message if you'd like a question and want to get on the show. Just get your message on the show. Send me or go to homegadgetgeeks.com. It's been a long day, friends. So I just appreciate you guys staying this late. The averageguy.tv, both web and media hosting. Remember, that's both web and media hosting. Powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. You know that's Christian. Does a bang-up job over there. Plans start as little as $10 a month, and the dude does just about anything. So visit Maple Grove Partners. There's a sponsor for you. MapleGrovePartners.com. And, of course, Christian always appreciates getting Home Gadget Geek listeners. Last time he was on, he's like, yeah, I picked up a few more. So thanks, listeners, for going out and having Christian. He's provided from day one. He's provided all the server and media host space for Home Gadget Geeks, and he does a great job doing it. So I appreciate you guys doing that. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Tony Rayner is next week, so Tony's coming on, and fun to catch up with him. We'll probably have nothing to talk about that takes an hour and a half, so you'll want to come and be a part of that. We're off the week after that. I've got a work conflict I'm doing 6 podcasts in a week for work, and so we got a lot to do. So we're taking that week off, and then we're back. Gavin Campbell is back. He got rescheduled from my granddaughter's literal birthday, and so he'll be back as well. And we'd love to have you join us here live. If you've listened to the podcast and you never joined us live, just come out to the averageguy.tv/live on Thursday nights, 8 Central, 9 Eastern, and you can join us. Follow me on YouTube, and you'll get a notification of it. Otherwise, just keep listening to the podcast. Thanks for doing that. We'll see you back here for everybody that's listening live. Thanks for coming out. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.
Good night.